My name is Thelka Aronson, and I invite you to join me on the roller coaster ride of the CFO Case Study Competition 2019. As part of its pursuit to transform education in Africa, the Charter Quest Institute South Africa a few years ago embarked on a journey to, on an annual basis, but only after multiple stages of team assessments, bring some of the brightest young students from across the globe to South Africa to contest in the CFO Case Study Competition, global and continental finals, challenging the students to prove that they can compete at the highest level by solving a set of complex and integrated finance, operational, strategic, and ethical problems that beset a real-world global business in the emerging market. Split between the Global University Edition and the Continental High Schools version, the semi-finals and finals of the 4th edition of this ever-growing initiative took place on the 15th and 16th of October 2019 at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, where 11 teams were battling it out in front of an international panel of industry expert judges with one goal in mind: to get to the top spot. The 2019 case study was based on a set of challenges that the Volkswagen Group was facing in the aftermath of the emissions scandal that shocked the world a few years ago. The teams have worked tirelessly for months with the hope of putting their best foot forward and provide the judges with solutions, but to ultimately prove that they have what it takes to succeed in the tough world of finance and business. Now, both the teams and the judges were ready to get down to business, and the stage was set for a fierce competition. Next up to present to the panel to earn their spot in the finals was Team Desert Horses Namibia from St. Paul's College in Namibia. See their presentations and how they managed to tackle the challenging questions put to them by the judges after the break.
Desert Horses from Namibia.
A very warm welcome to each of the members of the board. We are going to present our strategic report, which is an embodiment of strategic clear vision, a plan aimed at combining everything into one long-term cohesive profit-making scheme. We have prioritized the 5 scenarios on a basis of urgency and impact as seen on the slides.
Volkswagen has clearly stated that they want to remain the #1 leader in 3 key areas: volume, innovativeness, and profitability. Yet, the social, financial, and ethical dilemmas faced by the company may force them to sacrifice this dream in hopes of generating long-term profits As a result, we provide you with 4 courses of action in accordance to the strategy and cost optimization. Firstly, you need to undergo centralization and streamline the management. In addition to the already centralized R&D, IT, sales, and production, we suggest centralizing the financing and marketing divisions to Wolfsburg, Germany. This will allow for an overall improvement in the efficiency of the company. On that same note, we suggest streamlining the management. Many of these members are tainted by the diesel issue, and removing them from the equation will allow the company to start anew. Secondly, reevaluate your strategic management structure. Our concern lies in group-wide sales and production being on the shoulders of super premium and premium segments. Our concern more specifically lies in the fact that the heads of these and CEOs may lack the necessary expertise and knowledge to make informed decisions with regards to the volume segment. This could potentially prohibit cost optimization and sales. Thirdly, disassociate your premium brands. The power of the super premium segment and premium segment lies in the exclusivity, but this is greatly reduced at the expense of the relationship with the parent company, Volkswagen. Redesigning ownership structures will allow these companies to not only move further away from a volume producing segment, but gain greater independence and react to changes in demand more quickly. Lastly, and most tediously, you can simply reduce costs, especially your ballooning rent expense. Analyzing each functional unit and cutting down on floor space where necessary is an absolute must. Yet you can take it one step further and educate your workers on simple things such as switching off a light and turning off the tap. Thank you.
Volkswagen have devised an ambitious plan to be producing 3 million all-electric vehicles by the year 2025, as well as maintaining their edge over Toyota as the world's largest car producer. Although with our recently stained reputation, we have become a company known as one that is willing to compromise integrity in order to gain an advantage. Therefore, as part of a plan for a clear 2030, we want these aims moved to 2030 to ensure that we produce a car that is both profitable and efficient. We want to ensure a good product instead of releasing one quickly to compete with Tesla. Thus, we want a supply of electric vehicle batteries that ties in with the longevity of our project. Panasonic seems to be the best option here, but not one that we have any longer. Therefore, we have opted for supplier 4 who have a very good battery quality. They provide JIT and they have a long-term contract.
The diversification of Volkswagen is an incredible feat, boasting 12 brands across all the segments. Yet, the volume segment forms the backbone not only of the company's success, but their heritage. As a result, in accordance to the product and portfolio rationalization, we provide you with 4 strategies. First on that list is to rationalize the volume segment. Simply put, sedan models are a dying species, as SUVs and trucks are not only becoming price competitive, but fuel efficient and offer a more spacious interior. As a result, eradicating the sedan models within the Volkswagen brand is a must. Yet, Skoda has a strong presence in Europe, and we advise you to exploit this trend until such time as the company starts to operate below that 6.75% operating margin. Second on that list is to reconsider brands in the premium segment, namely Bentley. Supercars, which offer a choice of customizability and technological advancements, are in demand. Bentley, however, is unwilling and unable to cater to such a change in demand. As a result, 40% of their clientele are rather buying Porsches and Teslas, and cannibalization is occurring. Thirdly, you can use SUVs to break again into the American market. Due to the aforementioned benefits, the Volkswagen Tiguan and Atlas will prove very promising in breaking Ford's hold on the American market. In addition to that, we suggest introducing the concept Volkswagen Touareg, as its refreshing style will prove very attractive to Americans of the non-nationalistic thoughts. Fourthly, you simply need to develop a car specifically for the Chinese market. The company has shown great faith in the market, and we suggest introducing a compact design with the narrow streets of China kept in mind. We also suggest when introducing the car to the market, you take up a sponsorship with FC Bayern Munich, as I'll get to the reason, because their demographic consists mainly of Chinese and German nationals. So you're essentially killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We also suggest introducing a shared payment plan between families, as this will help mitigate the effects of the trade war. Oh, Rodney, sorry, my bad.
With a desire to maximize profitability and boost sales volume, Volkswagen advertised a tender aiming at 55,000 metric tons, rising by 25% per annum for the next 10 years. They have set their sights on Glencore in the DRC, but it will be a challenge for the company, who only managed to produce 27,400 metric tons in the year 2017. Other strategic sourcing talks have also broken down, with no other company willing to meet Volkswagen's needs. Therefore, Team Desert Horses has analyzed and identified possible solutions. Firstly, Volkswagen could contract multiple suppliers, although this would mean that they would have to increase their maximum price per unit, as well as causing great conflicts of interest between the big companies. Therefore, this option is not viable and we do not recommend it. Secondly, Volkswagen could make use of artisanal miners to fulfill their volume requirement. But this option immediately raises a red flag due to their use of child labor. This can be prevented through the use of agreements, but this is not a brand that Volkswagen wants to be associated with. Therefore, we do not recommend this. Thirdly, Volkswagen could implement Team Desert Horse's two-part plan, where in the short term, they implement the 811 lithium-ion battery, which immediately halves our cobalt needs. Research and development has already gone into this battery, and we urge Volkswagen to partner with companies that have already developed it to allow them immediate access to the technology. And in the long term, we want to redirect funding to the all-new non-cobalt using electric vehicle battery, which ties in with our plan for not only a better car, but for a better world. We want Volkswagen to be the innovators into the new market.
Now, the underlying issue in your fifth scenario is uncertainty. You are faced with three possible solutions that rise once the new regulations are set. The first one is to utilize capital costs to manufacture electric vehicle batteries. The second, to amend the current range of engines. And the third is, well, to do nothing at all. Now, before I continue, I'd like for us to have the time value of money concept in mind, which in a nutshell states that the worthiness of money is indirectly proportionate to the time in which it is received. So, with this in mind, there is neither the time nor the room for this uncertainty. You have to act now. And this is where we come in. We have immediately disregarded the second solution, as results from your very own VW Up campaign revealed that both your primary and target audience deemed the superficial aspects of the car as pretty or not as important as the quality and fuel efficiency thereof. The third solution could be seen as a viable one. However, with the augmenting percentile of environmentalists within millennials, is it really something you want to do? Need I even say more? And your comeback through Africa is seen as crafty. I mean, effortlessly, the idea that you come to Africa specifically because you know that the rules here are not as strict or updated ignites the fire of society. As Susie Kasim once said, any system that values profit over human life is a very dangerous one indeed. Your company will only be criticized for taking advantage of our developing continent. So in conclusion, we as Team Desert Horses believe that you should follow up on all the solutions that lean towards becoming an electric vehicle company, as it is your only overall satisfactory way to profits and peace. Thank you. We are now open for questions.
Very fresh, very crisp, very thoughtful. A lot of time, energy, and effort clearly went into that. Thank you very much. So, the first question I have is on your prioritization, the very first slide that you had on your presentation. Can you just talk us through your thought process and your rationalization of how you came up with, maybe just the first two, never mind the other three. Why, in your view, is strategy and cost optimization more important than e-mobility strategy, looking at where the world is going and the fact that you clearly are saying as an organization that you'd actually like to make inroads to ensure that you actually penetrate the e-mobility market, as it were, and yet you have it as number two?
Just 5 seconds, please confer with my team.
Okay, so our thought process in that was if you thought out and you plan the future and you set your strategy straight, it almost makes all the decisions to follow rather logical. So with the strategy and cost optimization and the e-mobility strategy in mind, you have to remember the diesel issue is like the thorn in the side. It hinders a lot of the decisions that you could have previously made if you had not had that diesel issue. But now that behind you, we've made a lot of superficial changes to the to the company, and that's with the deal with the changing the image of the management board, because every decision, even if it's made at the bottom of the food chain, leads to the top guy. So if you recreate that image, then you all of a sudden start to gain the trust of the PR again. And with that in mind, you have to have a plan before you can do anything. So having the strategy and cost optimization before all others was a must, because you need to have that idea. And when you have that idea and you know what impact you want to make on the world, then all decisions that follow seem really easy and obvious.
And just to add on to what Adam said, the electric vehicle batteries that we spoke about in scenario 5 cost more than an arm and a leg. So if you already have your foundation set, then you can further build on it.
I thought your presentation was really great, and I loved how you thought even laterally, and I could see that you were doing reading and thinking beyond even the case study, and the fact that you exhibited that is remarkable. I loved especially how you're saying how you should be linking it to marketing and for Bayern München. I think it's amazing. Well done for that. And I love that creativity. I genuinely do. I also liked how you looked at issues about people, planet, and profit, because I think any company going forward, that's going to be central. But then this leads me to my next question. We speak around cobalt and then potentially moving to lithium ion, which, there probably are some technological concerns, but if we go back to, there are similar issues, right? In the sense that lithium and where it will be mined is in very similar countries, potentially facing the same problems. So how would you advise the board to then consider this? So in other words, we're moving away from cobalt because it's not going to make sense for us from that sort of people ethical component. But then what should we be looking out for when we go and look for now a lithium provider or a lithium ion service provider?
Well, the way we analyzed the situation was that we didn't choose to move away from cobalt purely because of the DRC, but purely because of how all these minerals are mined. So when we are moving on to the lithium ion battery, it is in the short term because we understand the conditions that the DRC is in, and we believe that there are better conditions in where lithium is mined. And then in the long term, we want to move away completely from these minerals and the ethical concerns that are caused by these minerals, and we want to create an all-electric vehicle battery.
Follow-on question: how do we make sure then that we're not making the mistakes with the lithium miners? How do we make sure that we're not doing the same thing there? We're just changing mineral.
Well, we've analyzed it, and we thought that it was possible to put regional inspectors in place as well that would make sure that everything is being run up to standard. But it is difficult for us as Volkswagen, the company, to monitor what happens in the mines. To answer your question, I think that we put a brand manager in charge of this mine to ensure that the conditions under which cobalt is mined is not the conditions under which this lithium will be mined. Thank you.
Sorry, just to add on to that, since these countries are war-torn, the UN and all the NGOs have a very strong presence in the DRC. So potentially partnering with them in an attempt to develop the whole community and ensure sound ethical regulations are put in place, that can also be a very, very viable option. And once again, improve your image towards the public as you are helping develop a country, not exploiting the country.
Thank you for your presentation. One of the recommendations that you have made, again in the product portfolio rationalization slide, you said you recommend that the board develops a car specifically for the Chinese market.
Yes.
Can you please talk me through that recommendation, what that car entails, what does it look like,
Okay.
and how it would be fueled going forward? And who would you go into partnership, or how would you go about to get into production of this car? Thank you.
Okay, so they already have a production plant. You already have the infrastructure in China. But the amazing thing about China is their willingness to help these companies develop the charging infrastructure. So when you charge your car and that's all because of the political pressure put on China to reduce their carbon emissions. So this car would also exploit, it would be first off, it would have that MEB, that modular electric drive matrix. And from there, and then I'm getting mumbled up now, to go on to your point, how it's very small. It takes after the Chinese counterpart, but it will have that German quality that everyone's come to know from Volkswagen. But it's really the sharing economy in China is tremendous because not a lot of people have the financial means to buy a car just for their family. So that's why we offered the shared family payment system where a group of families can come together to buy one car and they'll share that car. So that car, just to give you an idea, is like really small, but it can hold up to 7 people. So it really, but it's really, I can't explain it, I'm not good at it, but that's the gist of it, so yeah.
And also, just to add on to what Adam said, you could have the same approach you did for the VW Move Up or the Task Up, whereby you made the car a 3-door car and you realized that for South Africans specifically, it did not work out as there's a preference for space and a need for open driving due to the long distances. So then after that, you made the 5-door car and you realized that worked. So we believe you could just do it, so we could help you to do a similar approach.
Thank you. Can you just go to the last slide where there was the 3-way choice of which way to go in terms of replacing, modifying? This slide, can you just indicate to me which strategy you are following? Because I heard what you said, but I didn't quite get a recommendation. Which is your recommendation here?
Our recommendation is the first one, or in other words, to use the capital cost to produce the electric vehicle batteries.
Yeah, you mean to replace the engines? To replace all the engines, develop a new engine and replace the engines?
Yes, sir, the first one.
Okay, cool. I really enjoyed your presentation. I was, there are many adults who wouldn't present this well. So I really liked that you thought very laterally and broadly, and I really echo what my colleagues have said. I'm interested to know, how do you know about things like Bayern Munich, the narrow streets of China, the shared value option, the 3-door versus the 5-door? You've mentioned a lot of things that actually really, really opened up the creativity in terms of the strategy presenting. Can you tell us a bit about your process?
So I believe we all have different qualities, and that's why we make a team. We put our different qualities
I get that, and I don't want to interrupt you. I know I don't have much time. Tell us about the process that you followed to create this presentation with that kind of information.
Yes, so as I was saying, we all have different qualities, and that's why it's sort of just each one's general knowledge. So we were talking about. I also, for example, in my part, in the detailed report, I spoke about biology, whereby I took Volkswagen as a patient and the new set regulations as an injury. Okay. And so, yes, Adam was the one who spoke about the Bayern Munich because he's into soccer and all of that. So it's really just our general knowledge, and we were talking about it, and then we'd be like, oh, wait, and oh, so yeah, it's our different.
Okay, thank you very much.
You have just watched Team Desert Horses Namibia making their claim to secure one of the top 3 spots in the continental finals of the CFO 2019 case study competition. They definitely left their mark, but was it enough to push them through to the finals? Well, catch us next week to find out if these teams were able to rise to the occasion. Do you think you have what it takes to be a strategic business leader? Well, why not register for the CFO 2020 Global and Continental Case Study Competition? Registrations are open from November to March every year. Go and visit our website at this address to find out more.